just, yeah, we just love, like I said, it's watching the videos of you two. It's funny because it just reminds me of a lot of our conversations that Jess and I have, and it's usually over breakfast or just like wherever we are, on a drive to Byron in the car. But it's always those kind of conversations where you think, man, we are so insightful right now. We should be recording this. So good.
I would love to hear them. I would love, we were saying, go for that. Record those conversations, share those conversations. Because I think, even the idea of the portal is just about people going, yeah, and this is what it means for me, and this is the epiphanies that I had and how they came out in a conversation or a video, or the moment that I had an emotional situation and I made a video of what was happening for me within that self-awareness. Imagine sharing, like, for someone else to watch that and go, now I have permission. Now that I can see someone doing that and they're not ashamed and they're going, this is how it works. When I'm emotional, this is how it works. This is how I understand it. I can't understand it intellectually because I'm in the middle of it.
Yes.
And then you get to watch that and you get permission to have that experience for you. Like, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
To share without shame. It's kind of what all these kind of, enlightened spiritual marketing products are about, how can you be who you are in a powerful way, but we kind of interpret them as, oh, well, I need to make sure it looks like this, like all those boxes needed to be ticked, and really it is, how can you be who you are without shame, which is, probably one of the bravest things that you can do.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something that both Jess and I are kind of moving through at the moment. And one experiment that we're currently doing is we're growing our armpit hairs.
Yep, excellent.
We kind of do things together. Like, oh, I'm going to do this. And the other person goes, cool, me too. And it's really interesting to be doing that because I started doing it in the Permission to Feel week, so it was perfect.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I wanted to see in real life things playing out that I was going through when I was on the portal and I was going through the questions and journals and videos and all of that.
Yeah.
I wanted that to play out in life.
Yeah.
So I think and I know maybe that sounds strange, but probably not to you guys, but for me it was people's reactions. It's my reactions. And it's all very feeling based. People are lots of reactions, but shock was a big one. Shocked myself. Sometimes when I put my arms up, I'm like, oh, God, oh, yeah, I chose to do this. Right. Just, my own reactions, and, it's very interesting. It's almost like life has turned into this social experiment for me since I've been doing the course.
Yeah.
What reactions are and what other people's are, and it's become interesting rather than me judging them or judging my own reactions. I feel like a lot of the judgment's gone out of it, and it's more just, isn't that interesting how we do that?
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff, that's what life is like for you. You kind of, like you say to Louise a lot, what do you mean, Louise? Why do you do that? It's like we're a different race or something. And Louise has to explain it. Well, what humans normally do, Mel, let's do this. And then you go, really? Why? And then it makes me think about it too, like, oh, yeah. Why do we do that stuff? I suppose a lot of it's so ingrained, and it's from, our society as a whole, the way we're raised, the people we spend time with, and you just go along automatically doing stuff that you've always done. It's like this tape that's on replay, and you just do it. Yeah. And you don't even think. It's just do until something comes up, and that I feel like that's what your course is doing.
Yeah. When
things come up, it's like, oh, wow, it's really getting you to look at things in a whole different way.
Yeah.
And just being aware of them and whatever that means. It might not change anything, but usually it does for me.
Yeah, without ever having the focus on making it change. Which is really strange for people to get their head around. I think that's one of the hardest things to explain is it's not designed for outcomes, but chances are everything will be different for you. Like, without having to even know what you're going for. Like, it's... Yeah.
And that is a hard thing to explain unless you've actually felt it, I think. So I reckon what you're saying in regards to people having a bit of video or, you know, having some dialogue with people who have done it, it'll make it easier to grasp, because some things you can't put into words. And it is a strange concept for the everyday human being to have a quiz without numbers at the end that tell you what you are. It's like, well, you know, you do the Ayurveda quiz, and at the end it tells you that you're Kapha or you're Pitta or you're, you know, you do the quiz and you get the answer.
Yeah.
It's that was really strange for me at the start, but then it was quite freeing, because it was like, I don't have to have answers to everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that...
Answer person, I like to have answers, and that's part of my control. If I have answers, then everything's in this neat little box, and I know what's happening, and I'm safe.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get the whole... Like, I understand the different aspects, you know, that control, that need. I know that as human beings, we want things in categories. It helps us feel safe if we think we know where things are.
Yeah.
You know, even if when we go back to them, it's not what was in there, what we labelled it with, it was something else. You know, like, it still gives us this sense of, I know how this works. As long as I know the rules, even if the rules aren't really what the rules are, as long as I think I know what the rules are, I'm good. You know, I can play this game. You know, it's and I get the aspects, like I get the control thing and the wanting attention thing and all of that stuff, and I just think it's like there's this amazing way to be with people where those things get to be part of who you are. You know, those things get to be valuable instead of the things that we're trying to tame or get rid of or transform into something else. You know, like, I love control. Like, for me, I do it in all kinds of ways, but it's just got nothing to do with having rules about life, and it's got nothing to do with making other people do what I want them to do. Like, it's, for me, I just found where it lives, where it's happy, and where, you know, it's valued for what it is. Like, it's walking around feeling it's perfect for its job, you know, and it doesn't have to do anything except be control. I don't want it to be control that gives me a certain outcome that looks like gentleness. You know, like, we're kind of fed this idea that you can have these aspects and they will be something that gets you something else, and then they will look different. And it's like, well, what if they could just be what they are, and you could give them the job that makes them happy? You know, even if that is your file, like for me, I just go, it's my filing system. You know, control is pig in shit. It loves my filing system, and that's where it lives. And it doesn't need anything, doesn't need to be gentle, doesn't need to be understanding, it doesn't need to get solutions. It's just control. It puts things where they need to go, that, you know, according to its ideas. You know, and then the other aspects have different jobs in different parts of life. And they, again, it's just finding where is their pig in shit job. You know, like, where are they completely happy and valued for what it is that they do. And it's like, all of these parts of who we are, if all of the parts have a job like that, then we have a place like that in the world. Like, it kind of transfers to that whole identity thing, you know, that whole sense of, instead of wanting to fit into the box, you know, like you're saying, we do the quizzes so that we know what type we are. Instead of having to fit into the type, all of our aspects are completely happy doing what they're doing, and we don't need to fit into anything. We're exactly where we need to be, knowing we're doing the best we can with what they have, and there's no, you know, there's no improvement. You still you still have that alchemy of existence. You live with other people and you want things and you go build projects and you have adventures. It's not like you stop existing. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know but which week are you into now?
So I'm just finishing up with Permission to Feel. I've just got a couple of MP3s to listen to, but I've read all the content and everything.
Okay.
Next week's Permission to Connect, isn't
Yeah.
it? The week after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just finishing up on that. So it's interesting as well for me to not be tasky with it, like, because you kept saying, this is not a test. You know, you've got this amount of time, and, yeah, giving myself permission to go through the content when it feels right.
Yeah.
And if it takes me 5 times to read over the one thing, then that's okay.
Yeah.
But I suppose in the schooling system, you're only given a certain amount of time to do things, and assignments have to be in by this time, and then you go out into the big wide world, and there's usually a lot of time limits on things, and so my natural response was to feel like, no, it's this week, I have to finish it. Yeah. You know, so it took me week 1, week 2 to really soften into it, and then I found it more enjoyable. Yeah. Because, for example, for me, Permission to Dance was a week that I just flew through in like 5 days. I just got it. I just was hungry for it, and I couldn't stay away from watching the movies or reading about it and playing it out in my everyday life and everything. Yeah. But then Permission to Feel, I just felt like I needed to not rush it and just let it come up and come out however it needed to. Mm. And then there was the week before Permission to Dance. What was that one? Because that took me...
Rule.
That was Permission to Rule, yeah. Yeah. That was... that took me a couple of weeks as well because it felt like a big one for me. Yeah. Because I suppose maybe that's connected to the whole control thing. Rules, you know. I have so many rules, I realised. And I was just laughing because I'm like, why? All these rules, it's so funny. It's like almost silly, like, oh, okay, and then seeing, well, okay, why did I have them? Yeah. Why do I have them? And, you know, like you've been saying the whole time, because it made me safe and it gave me a sense of belonging, all those things. Mm. And it wasn't that it was bad for me to have rules. It was just like, I see what I've been doing. Yeah. It's quite cool. And, being aware of the rules I do have, and I can change them if I wish. And that's the thing too. It's like I thought they were locked in, and that's it. Mm. And it's like, life is a choice, and I can change anything whenever I want to. Mm. Wow, it's weird that I had to have someone to give me that permission. Yeah, I wasn't even aware that was a choice for some reason, and that sounds really odd. But that's what it was for me. No,
I'm not sure it is odd. I mean, I think that's the thing about making visible, like that sense of self-awareness without judgment. That stuff doesn't exist, you know, because all of our self-awareness work is generally about making something visible so we can get rid of it or fix it. Yeah. Like, there isn't a lot of making it visible because it's exactly what it needs to be. Mm. You know, so that idea of going, oh, look, I have permission to change my rules, not because they're wrong, just because I'd like to have another experience.
Yeah, and how fun is that?
Yeah.
It's like so much more fun just to think that, if I don't want to do this anymore, I don't have to. Yeah. Oh, phew. It's like, exhale. It doesn't have to be like this. I don't want it to be.
No. I'm just going to turn our video off for a minute so we can get a better picture of you. Did you have any experiences of that sense of finding a rule, valuing it, and then making a choice about whether you wanted to keep it or not? Did you have any experiences of that you can think of that you'd like to share?
Well, I suppose it's come up a couple of times already just speaking, but I suppose it's that control thing. that I've got going on, and I always thought that was a negative, quote-unquote negative. So I suppose that was a big rule for me, that I have to control everything. I have to control myself. I have to control my children. I have 2 children. I have to control my relationship with my partner. I have to have control over my work situation. And you don't really get a choice of how much control you have over things, because life takes over. You might have this perfectly mapped out day with dot points. And then, as I explained before, for me, it's working from home, so that throws things out a bit. You might get one phone call, one knock at the door, and then everything is out of control, out of my control. So, yeah, that was a big one that I realised. The rule that I had was just trying to put limits and controls over really everything, every aspect of my life. And I think I realised that that's okay. I'm okay with it. And what you just said before about giving control a job, that just kind of gave me a little light bulb. You know, it's okay. It's all okay. I think that's the biggest thing that I've found out as well, just doing the course and with that week, Permission to Rule, that, yeah, I do have a lot of rules and it's all okay because I can change it at any time. There is that freedom to do that. And it is okay that I like to control it the way that I would have liked to. Then there was a guilt to put on myself, and then it's almost like a domino effect. So by releasing that rule a bit, it's kind of released a lot of other things, because I don't need to beat myself up at the end of every day to say, okay, well, that list of jobs didn't get done, and it's all beautiful and perfect exactly the way the day went. And that has also allowed me, by releasing that control, that rule of controlling, it's also allowed me to be in the moment more, because it's okay to just be here doing what I'm doing right now and enjoy it. And then when I get on to the next thing, I'm on to the next thing. And also that's all beautiful and perfect and whatever's happening in this moment. And I think that has released a lot of other things as well in regards to rushing. So I'm doing the job I'm doing right now, but gosh, I've got this whole list of things that I need to be doing. So I need to hurry up and get to them. So I wasn't present at all, because I was always forward thinking and future projecting to not only the rest of my list, but almost the rest of my life, what I have to do tomorrow, next week, next year, goal setting. It all just turns into all of that future projection stuff for me. So that's been, a really big one for me in the Permission to Rule week, was just that control. And it's still unfolding, and it'll always be changing. But I think there was just a bit of a shift more so in that week with that one, and just a remembering, I suppose, a lot of it for me, with not just the Permission to Rule week, but with all of them. And I think I've said it to you guys in a few of the comments, but it does just feel like I'm remembering a lot of things that I forgot.
Yeah.
That it is okay, and I don't have to do these rules I've put on myself, and I can dance in place. And childlike. I feel like I've been put on this earth as you know, not an alien, but maybe like if I'd been put in from a different culture where we did things differently. I came from a place where we used to control things and we had all these rules, and now I've been put on this new earth where you don't have to do all that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's really taken a load off for me. A lot of pressure that I was putting on myself.
Mm.
And, yeah, just that playfulness, as I mentioned earlier. I've been really enjoying that, you know. I noticed that before doing the course, when I was doing the Permission to Dance week, and I was really, really using it and really moving my body in different ways, in different places, and I realised, wow, I'd actually been feeling like doing all this stuff before.
Yeah.
But I just didn't do it because, I don't know, a whole list of reasons. What if that guy saw me and thought I was weird?
Yeah.
Or, you know?
Yeah.
What if I no longer fit into society because I do these strange things?
Yes.
They're perceived to be strange things. What would happen if I fully let go and did that?
Mm.
Would I be me anymore? And what does that mean? I suppose it was almost like a Pandora's box.
Mm.
But I feel like doing the course, it's nurturing. So it's done in a nurturing way where I feel like I'm supported. So there's that safety for me again. Like if it's done in a certain way, I feel safe. And I suppose that's what the course is for me. It's allowing me to discover and remember all of this stuff in a safe way. And it's because each week has a different label, although it's all kind of the same thing and all interwoven, and I know that you have said that it was hard to kind of break the weeks up and put them into topics and whatever, but it is really helpful to learn it that way.
Yeah. Because
it feels this unfolding process that it's not overwhelming is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you have, I don't know if either of you can identify with this, but I know that when Jess and I have conversations, we both feel the same way in that sometimes when we have really big shifts, it can be quite overwhelming. And I know for me, it almost feels like, I think I've even said this in the comments, that it sometimes feels for me like I'm inside of a tornado or something, even for weeks at a time, while I'm kind of reintegrating into this new pattern of thought or like whatever it is. And I know that it's all happening for a reason and that it's all like perfect the way it's unfolding, but during it it's like, whoa, this is quite intense and I feel quite ungrounded.
Yeah.
But I feel like with the course that it's just done in a way that it is that nurturing, step-by-step, slow opening and rediscovery and remembering. It's all of that for me, and it's not overwhelming at all. It's like, yeah, like I've said as well before, just listening to the videos, I'm just sitting there like, I'm not like a crazy person, and sometimes I'm like, yes! I'm like clapping, and I'm like, oh yes! Like that, and I might be in my car, I might be in the lounge room with my husband, he's watching TV while I'm listening to that, or whatever, and I can't hold it in, it's just like, oh, yes, gold. And lots of those moments where you go, oh, wow, that's what I've been doing, or, you know, and I think with Louise's, she has a lot of examples for what us general humans kind of do and say and get caught up in, the ones she has to kind of explain to you, Mel.
Yes.
What's going on.
I know, that's the like, Louise is amazing. That's the whole thing. It wouldn't work without the whole story about the general human that Mel doesn't understand.
Exactly, and that's why it works so well.
Yeah,
it's just perfect because Louise says a lot of the times when I'm sitting there going, oh, Mel, you need to know this. Louise pipes in and says, "You see, Mel, what usually..." Yeah, it's perfect.
And it's real. Like
the quest for the general human.
Yeah, but it's real. Like Louise gets really, as an emotional empath. I mean, you can speak for yourself if you want, but Louise gets really she experiences the stuff of the general human. She doesn't just intellectualize it like some kind of psychoanalyst that's standing outside, ethnologist, describing it to an alien. She embodies the whole thing and goes, and this is what it feels like. And Mel sits in her chair and says, but I don't understand. Tell me in another way what that means. And, I mean, I think that's, for me, I look at it and go, the value of that is that you've got someone who's tapped into that general human experience and someone who's standing there who is a general human but has a different cosmology and goes, and what does that mean? And you kind of get about 10 different, aspects of that experience just through that one conversation. And it's so beautiful. You're so eloquent the way that you talk about what that means for you. I think one of my favourite things that's come, through people experiencing the 8 weeks was your comment about, transition or realization or remembering is often tumultuous. And that through this, whatever you want to call it, through this experience, you've been able to have those same kind of epiphanies, those same kind of experiment, real world, situations, being able to put it into practice. And you haven't had that kind of healing crisis, it's kind of been, I mean, you're still a real person, you're still having emotions in the middle of the 8 weeks, even though you're up to week 5. But your sense of not having that healing crisis is a huge point of difference for art. For me, I just go, that's a beautiful thing. Because this is really created because of intuitive logic, because of the pull of general human going, we need this,
Yeah.
So how it's presented, how it's put together is really important, because we can't control, the whole way through the thing we say, you will hear what you need to hear. It doesn't matter what words we put on there or what videos we use. But somewhere that sense of knowing that someone can have the experience and it not being a healing crisis. I know somewhere inside I just go, that's a beautiful thing. I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, I thought that was the only way to, shift into new paradigms of thinking or being is for it to be like, whoa, oh no, this is going to get crazy. And that it had to be intense for it to be something. And I knew there was something else. I knew there was another way, and I knew there was more. And I've actually felt that a lot during the course, that I'd already started moving into these feelings or ways of being or doing before you'd even come along and before you'd even said these things. It felt like, it seems like I've already started this.
Yeah.
So it didn't seem all so new.
Yeah.
But it was definitely the wording to start with. It took me a while. I had to read over things a few times because it's a whole different way for me, and I'm sure for the rest of the general population it is. It's a whole new way of learning stuff. And I also feel like I'm not reaching for my self-help stuff, not even hardly at all, whereas, I feel like this is the way for me. And because it has that softer, gentler approach, and, when you are kind of hungry for more in life and you're seeking and you're wanting, so you're going to all these different healings and you're going to all these workshops. That's where I am at, and that was all really fun as well. But sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming because there's so many different modalities, and Louise has said a lot of this before. There's so many different teachers, there's so many different modalities, and a lot of them are quite firm that if you're not doing it this way, then it's not the right way. And that was really interesting for me, the whole right, wrong, or incomplete thing, in regards to all of that, that there's no right or wrong way. You can just pick and choose little bits here and there, and I suppose I don't feel as desperate to be seeking for things because I feel like I'm doing it myself, if that makes sense. Like I can already say to myself, interesting, I'm feeling, what's that feeling?
Yeah.
And then when I go into it, it's quite funny. It always makes me laugh because I'm like, I'm annoyed because, and it's always a small thing, because that door's locked and I can't unlock it. Why is that annoying? Taking me out of the path of what I wanted to do, and it's going to take me an extra 30 seconds to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's this whole thing that I start to unravel on my own. And even if I don't need to have an explanation, it's just like, what's that feeling? That's anger. Whoa, that's quite strong. I don't really feel like I need to unpack this or know why it's here, but I just know I just need to let it be here, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And the other day it was really funny because I've got children. I think it's so awesome for them to see because they learn along with me, obviously, because, you know, and my partner too, because we all live together. But I was in the car the other day and Charlotte, my 7-year-old, had done something that had frustrated me. And usually I would use that frustration against her because I'm frustrated at her. Yeah. I would be like, Charlotte, this is what you've done. That's me angry, or whatever it is. Yeah. You have made me angry. Yeah. Like, that's something I've said so many times. And then you guys have said it so many times. And in the, you know, permission to feel in relationships question I asked, can anybody really make you feel anything? No, it's my choice to feel the way I'm feeling right now. It really has nothing to do with Charlotte. So that was all interesting. That all happened in like a 3-second, really quickly in my brain. Wow. And then I just decided that I was going to scream because that's what I felt like doing. Yep. It just felt like that's how it had to come out. And it, wow, it was a loud scream. I must say, I don't think I've ever screamed that loud, ever. Yeah. And my throat actually hurt after it. I was like, whoa, I'm impressed. That was quite good. And the girls, both of them went quiet. We all went silent. And then the little one, Lola, she's 4, just started giggling. And then Charlotte started giggling. And I was kind of like a little bit annoyed about giggling when I was like in the midst of my whatever that was. And then I started giggling too because I was like, that's hilarious. Yeah. So we just all started laughing. Yeah. We were still crying and laughing in the back of the car. No, that's so funny. And then Lola was like doing the big rah as well. Oh, rah. And thought that was really funny. And then when we stopped laughing, one of them said, why did you do that, Mummy? And I just explained it. I said, I just felt a really strong feeling of anger and frustration and it needed to come out like that. So that's what I did. I felt it and I did what I needed to, whereas usually I wouldn't. I'd suppress that. I would go, that's not right, to yell, to scream very loudly and possibly scare my children. I'm a parent and I need to keep contained and not express my anger. You know, it's almost like trying to be a Disney movie all the time. That I realised that doesn't work for me anymore. Yeah. And plus, I thought I was modelling correctly by not screaming, but I feel that I'm modelling more correctly by screaming. For me and for my children. Yeah. Feels right because it's giving them permission to feel. And it's okay to be angry or frustrated or overwhelmed, whatever the emotion is. And then it really is an intuition and listening to your body. How does my body need to react to this? And then doing it. And that is a pretty brave thing to do, because sometimes it feels harder to scream.
Yeah.
Because you could possibly be judged or you could possibly lose your shit for a minute.
Yeah.
And then what does that mean? What does that look like? Where do we go from here? Uncharted territory kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Lola, the little 4-year-old, was like the other day, she was just standing there and let out this almighty roar, angry roar, and I was like, what's going on? And she said, oh, you just put the child lock on and I couldn't put my window down, so instead of getting cranky at you, I just roar. Like, yeah! Just felt like, yes, now I'm seeing them do it too. It just feels so right. I can't even explain it, but you would understand what I mean.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And the fact that she was aware, like she wasn't just impulsive in her expression. She made a choice. Like it felt like she was aware of the emotion and she chose how to express. That's a beauty. And then was able to articulate that. That's 4-year-olds are amazing these days, aren't they? That's incredible.
Yeah, it's so amazing, and to have children in your life, it really does accentuate a lot of the self-acceptance stuff, and just working through this course as well, it's been really great because you are models for your children and they do copy what you do. So for them to be copying things that I'm learning in the course that feel really good for me to do, it's really interesting to then watch children do it too, and it looks so right watching someone else do it. And it even cements it even more for me, like, yes, this is good, and it just feels right. It feels like I'm allowing so much more. And my body is sighing because a lot of the stuff that I haven't let out, like the roars over the last 32 years of my existence that I've wanted to do, that I haven't let out, I've held it all in. And so many physical things come out of that. So much, like you can feel tense in your body and you can hold stress in your body, and there's just so many things that we do because of whatever reason. Conditioned, parents, society, all of that stuff. And again, it comes back to the fact that everything is a choice, and that's such an amazing thing and such a beautiful thing, that this is my journey and my life, and however I want to do it is up to me. And I think before doing this course, I was very much making my decisions upon others, and how it says in the course a lot, if this wasn't about other people, what would it be about? And every time that question makes me go, oh, it's like a big slap in the face. Yes. Again, it's about other people, that I'm not growing my armpit hairs, for example. Yeah. Or whatever it might be. Yeah. I'm roaring or doing a cartwheel for no reason, just because you feel like doing it. All those things. And I've begun to do those things that I've been yearning to do. And I didn't even realise I was yearning to do them, because it was like a really quiet whisper, I suppose, and I would push it to the side so quickly that I didn't even know it was there. But now it's so loud, I couldn't even block it out if I wanted to. It's like, cartwheel time! Okay!
Fabulous.
It's cool. And people's reactions are not maybe what I expected. It's more of a wonder. Like, what is this woman doing? She looks so free. What? Whoa, I don't really know what she's doing or why, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Or most of the reactions are like that, and some of them aren't. Some people, it makes their stuff come up more, I've noticed. It's almost like an anger response or a frustration, or it's like they can't handle that. They can't handle that you are, I suppose it's a way of speaking your truth, like with your body. And it's like they can't, it's like too much for them. Well, I can't do that, so how come she gets to? Almost like that.
Yeah, yeah. But
again, I think that was something I was doing before, doing the course where I wanted to shine really bright and be me so that I could inspire others to do the same.
Yeah.
But then I've realised doing this course that it's not even about that anymore. It really is just more about me. It's not about others. Again, I was doing that to inspire others, but what about doing it just because it feels good in this moment for me? And exploring that, at first it almost felt selfish.
Yeah.
Because I was so ingrained to not do things just for me. It had to be to inspire others or to help others or, you know. So, yeah, it did feel almost selfish to be doing these things just for me. But the more that I'm doing them, and I even push myself, even when I'm like, I really want to do this right now, but then another voice goes, no, someone will see you, or you'll be embarrassed. And then I go, well, that's obviously something for me then to do.
Yeah.
For example, again, coming back to the armpit hairs, the longer my armpit hairs grow, the more I feel resistance, because I'm like, man, I really just want to shave this off because everyone can see and I'm getting different reactions. But then I was like, no, this social experiment's just getting interesting because I'm starting to get reactions and so are other people. So I find that I'm kind of doing that in a lot of things in my life at the moment, just being interested in the feelings, mine and others, and reactions, mine and others. And there's no rules on it. It's just what it is. And it's really fun. It kind of makes life like a playground because you're like, ooh, what am I going to do today? Yeah, it's really cool.
That's beautiful. It's so I love listening to you tell stories about it.
I'm just enchanted. I'm here like, tell me more.
It's like story time. It feels like story time before I go to bed. Right.
Yeah. I suppose it would be for you guys because you're just doing what you feel to do and what comes up for you, and I think this is what the people need to hear, kind of thing. And then when you're actually seeing what it looks like for someone to do it outside of the two of you, it would be quite enchanting. It's like a social experiment for you guys too. It's like, well, what's going to happen when we put this course out there and it says these words, and how does it feel for that other person? And
and I think that's the thing for me. Definitely the thing for me is I spend a lot of time in polarity and having all the reactions and demonstrating the stuff. And so it has been a little bit like, how is this going to be for other people if I'm in it all the time? Like, not in it all the time, but it has been quite intense and emotional. So it's just really lovely to hear your epiphanies and joy in the moment and all your beautiful experiences that you're having with the people and experimenting and playing and dancing and cartwheeling. And we should have had permission to cartwheel. I knew it.
And even knowing that it's not just about the joy and the lightness and the happiness and stuff. It's also the beauty of what it's taught me within other emotions, like anxiety, like anger, like other things that I used to I'd put two columns and be like positive, negative, light, dark, good, bad. You know, happy's good, sad, no. That kind of thing. And I feel like that line is so blurred now. Yeah. And when someone says something like, saying that a certain emotion is a negative, it's really weird. I feel like I'm like, is it? Yeah. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't been saying it out loud to people, but I've been thinking to myself little things like, not for me. Like if they say anger is bad.
Yes.
In my head, I'm just thinking, not for me.
Yeah.
You know, there's a beauty in all of it. And that's been my most favourite part, I think, now saying that out loud, is discovering that there's no such thing as negative emotions. It's all beautiful, and it is what it is in the moment, and it's there to show up to either show you something or even for no reason at all. It's all interesting too. It's like, okay, well, what's this, and where am I going to go with it? And that brings a playfulness into everything. I would never have thought you could bring a playfulness into, say, anger or anxiety or whatever. But I think before I was looking at as, you know, with my control came anxiety, because if I didn't have control, I'd feel anxious. Anxious is bad. How can I get rid of that?
Yeah.
Read books about it, go to workshops, try and make me less anxious. But now I just realise it's who I am. Whether it's there or not, that's all just fine, because I don't have to change, and my anxiety is a blessing because there's so many reasons why, but it's a blessing because it shows me who I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it serves a purpose.
Yes.
You know? It's, and whatever that might be, it's different every time. But usually it's, it just makes me see who I am. I wish I could kind of explain that a bit better. But who I am is such a beautiful thing. And for me to have anxiety over something, it kind of means that I don't know, I just seem to see the beauty in it. Like, I'm trying to give you an example so that it makes a bit more sense. But if I'm anxious over being rushed, it seems to, I find beauty in that because it means that I am a reliable person who's going to be on time, who likes to show up and be there, and you know, that makes sense.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're identifying it as a valuable part of who you are, rather than something that's getting in the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was trying to put words to it, but that's exactly how I feel. Yeah, I'm finding value in things that I used to think were bad or negative. And I think I'm just really, truly finding out who I am. Because there's so much that I've suppressed over such a long period of time that I didn't even realise was there. Or if I did realise it was there, I was putting a label on it to be bad, so I was trying to make it not be there. And that's such hard work and a waste of time and energy. It just is. It's like, what? I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So, yay for me.
Yay for you.
Yes.
That's huge. It does. Like, it feel, even on this, like, just sitting here, it feels huge to say, you know, I'm finding value in who I am. That all of those things are painting a picture of who I am. A holistic picture of who I am. Armpit hairs and all. You know?
Yes. Yeah,
And it is,
and
like,
maybe
even
that's just a physical representation of what I've been going through and feeling doing this course. I've just felt like I needed to do something physically about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that way of playing. It's just another way of having a cartwheel, growing your underpit hair.
Exactly. That's funny.
You know, and even that sense of when you do the cartwheel or people see your underpit hair and their loudest point comes up, you're knowing that their reaction is their loudest point, and that's about their sense of giving themselves permission and nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with me.
Yeah. But you're having those experiences in that social experiment. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. Like you say, it turns life into a playground because you walk around going, hey, they're losing their nana. That's interesting. Like, instead of you having a story about, you know, what damage they're doing or how bad it is or how you caused it or how you could fix it, like, there's something... there's some unconditional love available in that moment that that person is having their experience, and you can be with them in a way that isn't trying to figure it out. And so that kind of gives you space to be intuitive. You know, there's an intuitive logic. I call it intuitive logic because for me it's practical as much as it is not needing a reason.
Yeah.
You know, so if that person's losing their nana, whether you know them or not, whatever the situation is, that unconditional love allows whatever it is that you're meant to be doing in that moment to be communicated to you. So it's not about, what do I need to fix? How do I need to help? How do I get away from this? Like, it just really comes back to that. Okay, they're losing their nana. That's interesting. What's happening for me? And that intuitive logic comes in, and it either gives you directions, like you said, you know, or it doesn't. Or it just says, you know, pay attention. And gives you, like, no instructions. And you go, no. What do I do now? Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it feels so much easier to do it that way.
Yeah.
It feels like I've been fighting against so much this whole time that I have to do, and I don't have to do any of it. It's just rules I made up or rules I've copied off others.
Yeah.
And, yeah, like you said, it feels like I'm giving others permission to do the same, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
And even, like, if I'm having a conversation with a friend, I would always feel that I would have to counsel and break it down and analyse. And there's always times for that too.
Yeah.
But I feel myself now, for example, if someone says, I'm going through this, maybe it's because of this reason. Or maybe it's because life wants me to see this.
Yeah.
Or maybe, you know, and I'll make a little list. Yeah. And usually I'd go, or maybe, and add to that, or I'd agree. But now I feel that I hear myself saying, or maybe there is no reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And you just let it be there.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. You know, it makes the other person really stop and think and go, because sometimes that analysing really takes away from the experience.
Yeah.
Because you're so busy trying to work out why and get an answer. But that's the beauty of this life, is that sometimes we just don't get an answer. And that's why life is like a playground, because you never know what's going to happen next. And, yeah, that's about it.
They say, what is it? Every question has a reply, but a reply is not always an answer. So you might have a question and you will get a reply from the universe, but it won't necessarily be an answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can hear it more. You said it's that intuitiveness that comes through when you're not trying to analyse everything.
Yeah.
You're just being with it. You'll get a little something that just says be with it. And you go, okay, I don't really know why or what it means to me now in this moment, but I'm just going to be with it and see what happens. And voice has been a big thing for me too during this course. Like, whatever sounds I need to make in frustration or joy or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd already kind of started doing that before, and I wasn't really sure what it was until all of this. But with the dance, I think it came out a lot more because I was moving my body in certain ways. So then I realised, well, I can do this with voice too. And I think it was kind of dotted in a few of the things that you guys had said. So it's really cool. Like if I'm driving along and I've had a frustrating phone call, it's good because I can just be like, ugh, like make whatever sound I need to and just go, and just for a while just make whatever sounds come out.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's done now.
Yeah.
Whereas before I would hang on to that for days and analyse it and go home to my husband and have to talk it out. And isn't it amazing that sound can do that? Like shift stuff or move stuff about?
Yeah, that it exists. Yeah, it is its own. All I keep thinking is that's that kind of shamanic presence. You know, that ability to let that moment be sound and movement, because they're kind of together in that shamanic sense, you know, like it's not just about the sound. Okay, it is, I don't know, for me sound is a feeling. Like I can't hit a note unless I feel it. I can't do it with my throat. I can only do it with my guts. And so that sense of being able to make sound is very connected to feeling. And then that shamanic stuff you're talking about is also about how you put your body. You know, so however you position yourself is part of that expression, just as much as the sound.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's interesting. It's fun. Again, it's that playfulness of what's going to happen, because you don't know what your body's going to do or what sound you're going to make.
Yeah.
And it's even just as I'm going about my day, it's, you know, I might be doing something that might be a bit mundane, but it's like, it feels like I'm bringing that playfulness into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Picking up the toys, and suddenly it turns into a bit of a dance move, or it'll be like or things like that.
Yeah.
And the kids really like it too, because it is a playfulness and they gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
And even Louise was saying something about how children do that, how children are teaching us, because they are already in that playfulness that we're trying to cultivate or remember or go back to. They're already there.
Yeah.
We just lost it along the way when we became all serious about life and started following rules and all of those kind of things. And it just reminds you that they're our teachers as much as we are theirs. And sometimes it feels like even more so the other way around. Sometimes it's just like, oh my God, my little Buddhas, they're just, every little thing they say or do, I just been mimicking them a lot lately with their movements and sounds and stuff. Well, that looks fun.
Yeah.
You know? And it just seems to be like there's more joyfulness around me because, you know, through the eyes of a child, life is so amazing.
Yeah.
All these wow factors. And we went to the dinosaur museum yesterday and I felt like I was about 9 years old. Just couldn't sleep the night before, getting up all excited. And when I was there, it was just like, wonder.
Yeah.
And I think I was just so busy being a parent and being responsible and paying bills that I was missing out on a lot of that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've always been a positive person.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. It was a label I put on myself, you know. And that was interesting as well in the course, kind of uncovering a bit of that. Like, if I'm not this positive person, then who am I? Because me being positive was covering up all the other aspects of me. That I was suppressing half of me, or more than half, you know. So now it's like, wow, this real me is pretty awesome. Her, I'm going to keep her.
Yeah. But it is.
Keep her around.
I think people kind of underestimate the value of a good tantrum. Like,
Oh, yeah.
You know, stomping your feet and like your whole body going stiff and having that stern face and not kind of making it about anything or anyone, just knowing that that's how you feel in that moment. Like I really enjoy having a good tantrum. There's something, I don't know, I think there's also this thing connected to what happens in your brain, like all of these beautiful chemicals that get released when you do certain things. So, you know, like people cry and it releases certain chemicals, and people laugh and they release certain chemicals. And I think the same thing happens when we have a 2-year-old tantrum. Like it's in an adult body when we stand there and look like we constipated, you know, and have a little dance. There's something beautiful that happens in our brain because we've given ourselves permission just to do that, and not to do it at someone or as a performance for someone or to get something, just because that's how we feel in that moment. Like I think there's something else going on. Like, you know, obviously there's lots of energetic stuff going on when we do that, but even on that simplest brain chemical level, you know, that kick in your leg when you feel like shaking it up a bit, if you've been doing the tasks today in a certain way and you'd like to mix it up, you know, taking your pants off and walking around in your undies. But it changes everything. Like such a small thing. It uses your creativity. It connects you back to, where am I? I'm walking in the house with no pants on. Like it is hard not to be present when you are walking around the house with no pants on. It's, you know, especially when you live with other people. Like there is a very real, I am standing here with no pants on. You know, like it's, I just think, yeah, like you say, that playfulness, even though you're not changing anything, changes it changes the way you live your life.
And there's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Like with no pants on, or like looking like you're constipated, or, you know, like it's endless. It's not just, I suppose with every other workshop or anything I've ever done, it's been like, well, here's the list of what you do then. Like what you've done before was wrong. Yeah. Now we're going to tell you the right way to do it. Not only that, you get a list. Yeah. And so this is how you have a tantrum, or this is how you release anger. Yeah. But it's like, it could look like anything. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. And even I'm also thinking the oils, like there's a way, like I know you were saying you weren't going back to some of your self-help stuff, and I don't know whether you meant kind of like the ideological things, like you say, the instructions that they give you, but in that same freedom of being able to have the tantrum in your own way, like it's also going, if you feel to go to your essential oils, go to your essential oils. If you need a card of the day, have a card of the day. Like, you know, whatever works for you. You don't have to see this oil as the thing that's going to keep you in surrender. Like you have that freedom to create the support system that you need to give yourself permission to be wherever you are.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, what happens now? Yeah. I don't know. Cool. That's kind of it. Like, so I don't have my surrender oil when I want to surrender. When do I have it? Yeah. Whenever I want. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's almost like, saying it out loud like that, it's almost like I've been a teenager under the rule of my parents' house for this whole life. Yeah. And I've just been told, you've got freedom now. Yeah. Like you can choose to do what you want to do. And it's like, really? Yeah. Oh. And part of it's kind of a little bit scary, and part of it's a little bit like, do I know how to do this? And part of it's excited because it's like, well, this could go anywhere and I could do anything with it. It's really a cool thing, and I want everyone to know it. And it is great because I am taking this with me as I go, like, because a lot of my friendships are we love philosophical conversations, and we like getting deep, and we like deconstructing things. Yeah. It's just fun. And pretty much the way Louise talks, that's how I talk with all my friends. I love those conversations.
But why? Why?
concepts in now to a lot of these philosophical conversations with others and seeing their reactions to it and what it means for them and maybe what they could take away from it and what, you know, your little story about tantrums, how you get your gumboots on and stomp up and down the hallway, Mel. I've been telling that to quite a lot of people. And it's cool. People are like, all the reactions have been like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Best thing I've ever heard. And then I realised that as a mother, I was then suppressing my children's, say, tantrums or whatever the emotion was.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to put them in a little box like what I was in. Well, I wouldn't just go off and have a tantrum and scream and kick like that, so I'm not going to allow you to do it.
Yeah.
But saying that, you know, all those little things, but about your brain chemicals needing to have those emotions because it's, you know, it's got to come out. And it's allowed me to do it for myself, but also the people around me, and I think especially for my children, to just, and for me, I'm there cheering them on now, like when they're having a tantrum or when they're bawling their eyes out because they're just really sad.
Yeah.
I'm like, good girl, well done.
Yeah.
Well done. You know, get it out, cry it out, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
They're cheerleader now rather than shush, quiet, stop that.
Yeah.
That's too loud, or control yourself, or that's not okay in this space to do that. You know?
Yeah.
And if it is that it is really loud, whatever it might be, so the anger or the tantrum or whatever, and if it is affecting me to the point where it's hurting my ears, I'll guide them into a space where it's safe to do that, and they can, so in their room or wherever, and they can continue what they need to continue.
Yeah.
And I'll even ask them, would you like me to be a part of this, or would you like to express this on your own?
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll say, I want to be by myself. Yeah. And then I'll just continue. You close the door and you can still hear them in there. And it's just what they need, you know. Yeah. Or sometimes they'll say, stay with me. Yeah. And they'll just want me to sit next to them while they do it. Or sometimes they'll want to be in my lap with their arms around me while they do it. Yeah, yeah. And it feels really, it feels like the way I've always wanted to mother, but I just didn't really know how to do it. But now, by me giving myself permission, I'm giving them permission. And I can just see, it's like that for them too, the whole, exhale, I can breathe now because Mummy's letting me. Yeah. Mummy's allowing me. And then it makes me think, my goodness, there's a lot of emotions that we're suppressing in our children because we're afraid of what's going to happen or what others will think is a really big thing. And if it wasn't about other people, what would it be about? You know, it comes back to that again. Yeah. And for me, it's about my child needs to express this emotion right now, so that's what they're going to do, regardless of where we are or what it looks like to other people. Yeah. Because it's not about them, you know? And, that's been a really big thing for me, being a mother.
I just got a vision of your child, microphone, heavy metal in the background, and they had to make up the vocals. It's for those frustrating days at kindy. Wow, the perfect release method for you. Here's a heavy metal track with no vocals for you to make it up with. I didn't get the chair I wanted.
And imagine as a kid yourself, as your parents just saying that to you. Yeah. It'd be like, thank you. For me, putting myself in that position as a child and imagining would feel, for me it feels like, thank you, Mum, thank you, Dad, for just allowing me to be me, because now it gives me permission to allow myself to be me. Yeah. And that's just going to save a lot of time and a lot of years of repressed, suppressed stuff that, you know, they could be doing. I think life's going to be a lot different for them from now on, as well as for me, and even my partner as well. He just recently went through a grief period. He's still going through it, A friend of his passed away, and he was saying to me he felt guilty, and I said to him, what would happen if you didn't need the guilt to go away?
Yeah.
He kept saying, I shouldn't feel guilty, so he was trying to get rid of the guilt. And I said, well, what would happen if you just allowed the guilt to be there as what it is, and you didn't try and work out why it was there or how to get rid of it, and just allow it to be there? And he was like, wow, that's an interesting concept. And he found that when he did that, it just played itself out and dissolved in its own time.
Yeah.
And that's what happened for him. So it was perfect for him. But it was just an interesting thing to be able to give that experience to him.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like before I did this course, I probably would have, gone into a whole counselling session with him about guilt and why he's probably feeling it, and how we could do exercises to release the guilt or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Fact was, he felt guilty. It didn't make sense. He didn't need to feel it. But, it was his loudest point at the time, and it was there for a reason. And him just letting it be there was such a relief for him as well, because he finds in his life that when he doesn't allow the emotions to just be there, it usually turns into a period of what would be labelled as depression, where he can't get out of bed, and because he's not allowing the emotions to just be there. So it's that strong for him. It's like he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
I either let these emotions be there as they are, or I'm going to go through a few days of not being able to move.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing to have. Because I don't have that. So I can easily get away with it, not having to feel certain things, because I can just skip over them or push them to the side or push them down.
Yeah.
But him, he's almost forced into feeling the feelings, and it's such a great thing, because then he can just be with them in the moment and have the experience he needs to have, and that's it. Once the experience has been had, it's been had.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a big thing. I mean, especially when you talk about guilt, like there is the permission to have it. Kind of, it's because it's not just guilt. Like there's a whole heap of other stuff playing out at the same time. But because we're going, need to control this thing, all that other stuff kind of gets added into the basket, and it just, it's kind of like trying to remove a tumor that's part of your body. So it's not something that's actually foreign. It's part of who you are, and it's a big there's a big difference in that approach when you go, well, what if I'm just allowed to have it? And then all of the other stuff that's connected to that, kind of makes itself visible, and you're allowed to have all of those peripheral experiences as well, and all of the love that's connected to that, and all of the other things that's connected to that come in, all the memories and all the other people that are significant to you, and all of your sense of what you value and what you're afraid of losing in this moment, and all of that other experience becomes available to you, and you are allowed to embody it. You're allowed to be in that moment going, losing my friend makes me aware that I'm afraid of losing the things that I love. It upsets me. The fact that we're mortal, and that there are people I care about in my life that I don't want to lose, and that I don't have control over that. And that just, you cry and you sit in that realization without needing to resolve it. And that's, I can just see that the beauty of that moment, being able to sit in there just from that one statement. What if you didn't need to get rid of the guilt? What would that mean? there's a whole heap of other realizations and love and expression and acceptance that comes in just from that one question. I mean, it's not even a directive. You're not even telling someone what to do. It's just a possibility.
And I think that's the biggest difference. I think a lot of us are going around counselling each other, trying to tell each other what to do and how to have these experiences.
Yeah.
So I've really enjoyed giving people the permission to feel what they need to feel, how they need to feel it, without me putting my stuff into it as well.
Yeah.
This is about them and how they're having the experience.
Yeah.
And sometimes being able to give a little directive or a little, a little word play that kind of makes them think about it in a different way.
Yeah.
It feels like a gift. It feels really amazing. And I'm not taking away from their experience anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was doing that before when I was trying to help people by counselling or talking them through a situation.
Yeah.
You guys were saying this recently as well about how we listen to others and how important it is just to be there and listen without having to put your stuff into it or thinking about what you're saying next. It's just being there for them. And like you said, Mel, just saying a little something like, what if this? And then it just makes them go, oh, wow. And, yeah, it's really special.
Yeah, there's lots of clues about how to be with people that kind of don't
and
exist
I'm enjoying
anywhere.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you, both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No, it's lovely. I just love hearing you talk about what it means for you. It's really, it's beautiful.
It's nice to have someone to tell it all to who understands it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
It is. And I think that's why when we created the whole Miracles and Wonder thing, we went, well, what do we, like one of the marketing questions is, what do you want people to do first? It's like, well, I think they need to kind of have their experience of the cosmology before they can do anything else with us, because it doesn't feel like we could even start a conversation with people until, like you said before, it's not something you can explain. You have to have an experience of how it works for you. And so that's why we went, we'd love heaps of people just to become, members and be on the portal and talk to each other and get the kind of support for themselves that they need. But it feels like this 8 weeks has to come first. Like it would be hard for people to just come in. I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's not true. Maybe people don't need to do the 8 weeks first before they can, do our other stuff. But it felt like part of the impetus to create that experience. And I'm so excited you're only up to week 5.
Oh,
I am.
I was on like week 2 and I was thinking, I couldn't possibly learn any more. I feel like I'm just, really?
Yeah.
More? There's like 6 more weeks of this? Wow. Yeah, I'm excited too that I'm only on week 5. And I'm excited that you started the portal.
Yeah.
Because I think it is a bit like finishing a really awesome novel and then that's the end.
Yeah.
And it's, oh, what? So now I'm just alone and the characters have left me and that's it?
Yeah.
It kind of felt like when I was doing the course, I was like, oh, this is that feeling like when you watch a really good movie or you read a really good book and then eventually it comes to an end.
Yeah.
And you're left there like, oh. I'm glad that you've continued it on because it allows, because it's an ever-evolving thing. It's not just, oh, you do this 8 weeks course and you're cured and go out to the world and be amazing. It doesn't feel like it's like that.
No.
It's a lifetime experience. that you'll need to constantly come back to.
Yeah.
And just when you think you've got things, it comes up in your face and you go, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So how can I be with this? And it's great that the portal's available, that you can jump on and pop a question in. Or I also find that it's really great having the videos, the MP3s, the words, the pictures.
Yeah.
It just feels like it all comes together so perfectly, and you feel like even if you are overwhelmed with the wording or the concept at the start of the day that you're reading about it, by the time you've watched the videos, listened to the MP3, read the glossary term for the day, by the end of it, it's all wrapped up in this neat little package where you feel like, oh, wow, I really grasped this. And not only that, it's ingrained. The aspect of having all those different things coming in at me.
Yeah.
And it's always a bit of humour, and I'm always like, wow, how do they get everything related so well? It's really good. Good's not even the word. Phenomenal.
Oh, you're funny.
You guys are amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Beyond amazing. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. You're funny. I love you.
I love you. And I love you, Louise.
I love you too, miss. That's what I've been thinking the whole time. I've just been going, she's great. When do we get to hang out and cartwheel together? This is fabulous.
Do we have to have pants on or not?
It's up to you. You can do it however you like. But it has been really interesting listening to you talk. Because I don't know, I am a very visceral, embodied person, and I have just been going, we need to have a weekend workshop together, we need to hang out together, we need to hang out, we need to create something so people can come and hang out, because I want to hang out with them.
Yeah, just give me an excuse.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah.
And even like I was thinking while you were talking, I was like going, something with the kids. I'm like going, something with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I was getting very excited.
Cool.
On the inside. I was staying it on the inside because I wanted to hear every word. I was hanging off your every word.
Yeah.
And it is so beautiful. Just, I think we know so many teachers and parents and, I don't know, people who will really resonate with what you're saying, who will really understand. Like, we've been not struggling, but, you know, a bit challenged going, how do we say it so that people understand it? And your examples and your, I don't know, just all your experiences and your beautiful articulation of it. I just think, you know, parents and that will really get what it's meant to you, you know, what it means to you and what it would mean for them. It's really beautiful how you've articulated it.
Oh, that's awesome, and I'm glad I could be a part of that. If I could do anything, it would be sign everybody up to this course, you know? So I'm glad that you think people will get it by what I've said. Because I don't even know what I've said. I've just been so in the moment talking. You know, you're just not sure whether it makes sense, so I'm glad.
Yeah. And we're also setting up the first live call, which will be for the portal. So we'll send you the details of that too. And we were discussing when that works. So just as a general thing, Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock.
Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock. Wednesday nights for me is family dinner night.
Okay.
So we can run to my mum and dad's place.
Yeah.
And we all get together and be together.
Yeah.
So does it have to be live, or is it something where you do it live but then people can tune in and listen after?
The live call would be available to the free section of the portal, and the recordings would be available to the paid section of the portal. So like depending on how people are accessing it. So the first month free access would only be the live version, and then you know, once you became the I'm in person, then you would be able to access the recording whenever you wanted.
Okay, well that's a good idea.
Yeah, but we were just kind of going Wednesday night, 7:00. How does that work?
And we were actually thinking about parents and people, you know, like at least it's after dinner, maybe that's a good time, like just going.
Yeah.
And so what about Tuesday night?
Yeah, Tuesdays are good for me.
Yeah.
I know that most parents kind of put their kids to bed around 7:38, but once like dinner's done and stuff, if you've got someone there, like a partner or whatever, that could put the kids to bed and you could just do the, you know, have dinner and then jump on the call.
Yeah.
I think it would work. I think 7:00 would work.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many different people with different lives.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
You know, especially these days, everyone's so busy and jam-packed. Life is full.
Yeah.
So
That's all right. They'll just have to
with
be
that.
paid members, won't they?
Exactly.
Then they can access it whenever they want. I mean,
Yes.
because the thing is, like, because we kind of went, how much do we want to charge? Because, yes, it is what we do for a living, but it has to be an amount that we think people can afford, and it has to be a sense of, you know, like there had to be a playfulness in the amount that we were coming up with, which is why the 8 weeks was 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then, you know, the $28 for 28 days, which you really get a month. But, you know, we were kind of going with that.
Sounds more fun. 28.
Yeah. $28 for 28 days, you know. And so we were going, is that reasonable? And what would we give people? So, you know, we're always open to that feedback from you about, you know, what that's for. You know, like any questions you have, we'll be making recordings. We'll do a live call every week. If there are other things that are helpful, because it's your portal, like it's our portal. It's not for us to just disseminate information. It is for all of us to have a hub together, to have a relationship. You know, it's somewhere for us to share exclusive information, which kind of isn't so exclusive because we live it and everybody else gets access to it. Yeah. So, I mean, just know that there is that kind of feedback loop in that process as well.
It's so exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Be loving it because she's like, yes, I'm changing the world. One person at a time. Like that activist in you is to get all that beautiful positivity out there to the world. And, you know, it's like that forward effect. When you hear something or learn something that's just so right for you and has really changed your life, you just want to talk about it all the time and you want to tell other people and, you know, they tell people who tell people and, you know, all these little lights turn on all over the globe.
Yeah. And it's hilarious because the person at the kind of center of it is going, I'm not doing anything except being present. And there's all these people around me going, no, but it's fabulous and we love what you're doing and keep doing it and we're all changing the world. And I'm in there going, there's no changing the world, people. But
and this is the ironic thing. Me and Mel have a lot of discussions about the fact that it isn't a change for her because she's lived in this cosmology all her life.
Yeah.
But for other people,
it feels like
leap
it.
is the way of viewing the world is completely feels like it's flipped on its head.
Yeah.
And so it is, for us, it feels like a change.
Yeah.
And yes, we are in the next moment and looking at it a particular way.
Yeah.
But it does still, for many people, feel like a transformation of some kind.
I just think it's hilarious because those two things live simultaneously. Those two things, it's not like one's true and one's not true. It's just the whole, you know, the kind of the idea of it comes from a place that doesn't see change, doesn't see transformation, doesn't see fields of energy, and doesn't see cause and effect. And yet, the very fact that intuitive logic has led us together and has said create this product and then has brought people to the experience is kind of, you know, downloaded in people's brains as transformation, as change, as a means of, you know, fields of energy. in cause and effect and all of that stuff. It's just hilarious that those two things exist simultaneously. I'm always kind of in the middle of that. And then, like Louise gets excited and she goes, we, and I go, no, it's I. Because that reality is your reality, and this is the one that kind of sits and allows that to be, so it's this kind of constant coming back to, for us, working together, going, that is who you are. And no part of this wants to change it, but there is definitely this call for responsibility around I. And I think that's part of the beauty, like maybe when you get on to the later ones, but obviously, still into the first 4 weeks, there is a sense of responsibility is not blame. It's like you say, you've discovered who you are and you rock. All those senses of who you are, you're a rock star. There's nothing about you to be rejected. And that's the I. Like not the we. Anyway, yeah. So I always find that hilarious that we sit in the same product, in the same cosmology, and have such different message, such different roles, such different eyes. Yeah.
That's what makes it fun and interesting. And I know, Mel, when you start talking about things about yourself, straight away my ears prick up and I just want to know more, because that's what it's like for you as well. When Louise says things and Louise is looking at you now like, told you. From you, the people want to hear about you.
Yeah.
And the people want to hear about you. I'm telling you that because as a listener, it is very interesting, because we don't exist the way you exist. We don't think the way you think.
Yeah.
So it really turns lights on when you start talking about you and experiences you've had, because it's like, wow, well, we've been living this way this whole time thinking this is the only way, but here's this woman that's coming along saying that for her it's completely different and she's had a completely different experience, and it makes you think, well, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible to have that too if we want to, or as interested as you are in us is how interested we are in you as well.
Yes.
Like when you say to Louise, really, is that what you think? It's like, yeah, that's how us humans think. It's the same from the other side. We're like, oh, Mel, tell us more. It's like, yeah, you're a person where you just want to get a microphone and start interviewing you.
Yeah.
Because you're so interesting.
Oh, and I keep, like, there's this part of me that just shrinks into a small ball and goes, please don't make me the leader. Please don't make me the leader. And, but.
Too bad, it's so sad.
Yeah, too bad, it's so sad. But I think it's necessary for me to have that. Like, that is a necessary part that keeps me here. Yeah. Because if I had an aspect that went, oh yeah, baby, give me the cape, give me the chair, the throne, and the scepter, and let me fly, then it would be a different experience. Like, it would be a different message delivered.
It would be. And it would be, people would, once you give yourself a cape and a scepter, people want to give you that too, and a crown and everything else. And then they want to be, no, leader. They give everything over to the person who's telling them, and Eckhart says it a lot. I'm just a signpost. I'm not sitting up here as God telling you what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
You have to find your own way.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you signpost pointers, and I feel like that's what you're doing, and you're obviously doing that for a reason.
Yeah. And
maybe we don't need you to wear the cape and have the scepter, but we still like to hear.
Yeah.
Your interesting ways that you think and be. It's very interesting. Anytime I've heard you talk, I've always been really enthralled. I've always been, if you're in a conversation when you're not on a video, or if, just sitting next to you and chatting.
Yeah.
few of the things that have come out from that I've heard from you have really interested me. Just little bits of your life. About, just things about you. Very interesting. And I've really enjoyed Louise's interview too. That was excellent. Really informative. And, yeah, when people are doing a course, you want to know a bit about them. Yeah. You want to pick apart their brain and go, what's going on inside there? And Louise is really good at putting that across.
Yeah.
I don't think you could not be you if you tried. You're so you, it's crazy.
And I just wanted to ask too, with the other interviews and the interludes and that, have you listened to many of them? Have you had time to listen to them?
Oh, yeah. I've watched every video, I've listened to every MP3, and I've read every word.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of girl I am. And plus, it's so great. I just love it. I just lap it all up.
And how have you found the other interviews and interludes with other people?
Really great. I really enjoyed Ross's one.
Yeah.
He's a very interesting person. I just wanted to interview him myself as well. When you just hear interesting people or meet interesting people, you're like, oh, man, I just want to sit down and interview you. Yeah, he was a really interesting person. I've enjoyed all of it. It's all been so multifaceted. There's just so many parts to it. You could never get bored.
Yeah.
Different ways to learn things, hearing about it from another person's perspective, and the beautiful storyteller. What was her name? Kim? Was it Kim, the storyteller? Starts with K. There was a lady who read a beautiful little story.
Oh, no, Becca.
Oh, yeah, Becca.
Sorry, Rebecca.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Rebecca's beautiful storytelling. That was amazing.
Yeah. She's amazing.
And just your little bits of poetry, Louise, as well. Like, all of it. It's all just... Yeah, it's an experience. It is. It really is.
So even for us, that's so interesting to hear, because we've been putting it out there and haven't really had that direct feedback, whether all of it's relevant or just some, like all that kind of stuff. So it's really fabulous to get your feedback.
The magical
mystery. Of course,
mystery
it's all relevant. And
magical mystery.
I think it's beautiful too that you say it's not a test and you've got 3 months to do it, and if you don't want to read it, don't. And if you do. If you want to watch the videos, if you feel to watch the videos, watch them.
Yeah.
It just keeps reminding you that if you don't feel into something, or if it just doesn't sit right with you, it's like, okay, well, even though my freedom meant that I watched every video and listened to every MP3. But I was free to do it. That's the thing.
And to do it without like a whole story about, oh, this is the person I am and I'm stuck in being this person. And I guess it is the way you are, and you rock. You're a rock star because you want to do everything and dip your finger in everything. And even when you were talking about being inspired by the kids, I have this memory, like I have to explore lots of things. When Cam and I go to the supermarket, I sing in the aisle and I touch things, and, I have a whole child experience of just going to the supermarket. But I had this flashback. I was with this friend's daughter, and we were looking at the sculptures down at Currumbin, the annual festival, and she went up to this one, and she went even further than I did, and she looked at it and went, oh, it looks like chocolate, and she licked it, and it was brass, and she went, ooh, it doesn't taste like chocolate. That sense of all the material. But that's a whole nother level. Yeah.
Making it a sensory experience as well as a tactile experience, as well as, there's so many different ways to go at life.
Yeah.
And I think we've just forgotten a lot of it, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing to have. Lick if you want. You can
lick the screen.
You can it's so cool. It's like you can explore life in so many different ways. We've been given all these different ways to do it. But I think we're just so used to, this is the way we do it because we all do it like this. It's a group mentality of, you don't lick sculptures. That's just wicked. Just so we don't do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that thing of no one ever died from a messy room.
Yeah.
Like so much tension in households and families about keep your room tidy. But it's like no one actually died from a messy room. Pretty much ever, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. The story you tell about the guy that...
he's a psychologist guy, and he's decided at some point that very thing and went, okay, I'll clean up your room once. I'm going to take a photo from the door of it perfect, and then I'm going to blow that up, put it on your door. Your job is to keep the door shut. I can walk past to your clean room, and I'm happy. You live in your mess, son.
When I heard that story, it just made me think as a parent, why?
Yeah.
It's because our parents told us to have a clean room, so we tell our children to have a clean room. It just gets passed down.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we didn't have a clean room? What would happen? Let's experiment with that.
Yeah. Or what if it was fun to clean up? Oh, my goodness. What a revelation.
Or, God forbid you help your kids. Like, I think a part of it for me was like, no, it's your room. You've got to clean it. But recently I've been like, let's put some music on. I'm going to come in and let's do it together.
Yeah.
You throw things at each other as you go and make it fun. And, sometimes it gets messier before it gets cleaner. But I don't know. It's like takes the pressure off everybody when you just play with it.
Yeah. And it is that sense of, and what is your real focus? Yes, getting the room clean is important, but it's probably more fun.
Sorry, I just cut Mel off. There was an aeroplane going over, and I cut her off.
I heard her. Was that a swear word? Is that why you're being...
I'm muting her. She was saying the word fun. It's outrageous. Somebody stop her before we have too much fun.
But I think about the cleaning the room thing. I'm like, why don't parents have like a toy box with a hoop? The hoop that you throw things in?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, all the things that can be thrown into the toy box in the hoop if they don't fit in the hoop.
That's a great
I don't
idea.
know.
Yeah, I love your different ways of looking at things, Mel, and your suggestions,
Yeah.
For example, doing things with that stuff that you wouldn't normally think of, but once your mind's opened up to possibilities, that there are those possibilities, you can start to come up with your own yourself.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to kind of give people answers because it's, it takes away that discovery process a bit. But I just really love if there's an example or two, it just really makes my mind start to open up.
Yeah.
Instead of examples, I'm like, yes, examples. I just love them. Yeah, it just makes me, it's like I can put it into practice if I can have a little example first. Like, this is a way you could do it, or this.
Yeah.
Now come up with some of your own ideas.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a beginning for me. It's like a little push.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. And there's so, they just instantly come into my head. Like, there's so many scenarios. And I think it is all about that sense of how do I bring my focus to something other than the thing that's I'm worried about, even if I'm going to a new school for the first day or going to a new job or whatever, I go, okay, so wear a Superman t-shirt underneath, or I don't know, have something no one else has to see it, it's just something that you have for you. Or, if you're an adult and you're a man and you're going for an interview and you're worried about what people are what's going to happen, wear your wife's undies for the day. And that's all you're going to be thinking about. You're not going to be thinking about the conversations or whether you're saying it right. You can kind of be there and just be thinking, I hope nobody can tell that I've got my wife's undies on at the moment, or if only everybody knew that I had my wife's undies on today. They're just such simple things.
It's awesome. That would be hopeless for me. I'd just be cracking up all day and people would think I was nutty. I just love that though. There's so many different ways to do this life thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, if you needed a reminder to stay in the present moment, some lacy knickers on a man. That's going to do it.
Yes.
It's cool. If you, you know, instead of trying to force yourself to be in the moment, because I think people do that a lot with, for example, with The Power of Now and a lot of things that have been read worldwide.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, it's right to be in the moment and it's wrong to be out of the moment. So I've got to force myself to be in this moment.
Yeah.
And it becomes a pressure thing, and then a lot of other things come along with it.
Yeah.
But if you can make it playful like that,
yeah,
that's really cool.
And even that sense of, okay, I'm saying to myself, I'm not in the moment. If that wasn't true, how would I actually be in this moment? You know, like even that sense of, if I wasn't taking myself out, if I was just looking for what I am doing, what would that look like? Even all that stuff, it just feels like, oh, okay, I don't even have to figure out whether I'm in or out. Like I can just, I mean, you don't have to, but it is that sense of, like you say, all that pressure is kind of off to go, I've got to make sure I'm showing up in this particular way.
Yeah. And there's only one way to show up. There's only one way to be in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
And I think with the different ways of teaching that are out there, I think unfortunately it kind of ends up like that, where people feel like there is only one way to do it and it has to look like this. And everyone's so quick to want to teach each other what they've learned. But my guru says this and mine says that. And, like, I think we're all our own guru at the end of the day. It's just like, well, what's right for me? It's not right for me.
Yeah.
And that's really great for you that you've found it out that way. But that doesn't really sit with me or resonate with me in this moment. So I'm going to be here doing it this way.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. I think a lot of the time I would hear something someone said and go, oh, that must be true then, because Deepak said it, or someone else said it, or celebrity these days around spirituality and things like that you can accidentally get caught up in it. Oh, so-and-so said it, oh, that must be true, or that must be the way to do it, or I'll try it that way because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
And it becomes that pack mentality again, and then you forget yourself again. And then you got to start all over.
Oh my goodness. That sounds like incredibly hard work starting all over.
I have to be me again in the next moment. Oh,
Oh, God.
I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly how you feel. Here I go again. Being me. Damn. Will I ever get it right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's such a relief, isn't it? Like, Louise, you would know.
Yeah.
It's such a relief to do it this way, that this course is putting out there that you can do it this way. It's like, oh my gosh, I can just be me exactly the way that I need to be. There's no pressure. There's no rights or wrongs. There's no rules.
I still get a bit stuck on there's no right. Come on, what do you mean there's no right? There must be a right. Oh, anyway, that makes it wrong. Oh, well.
Yes. And I think sometimes that's a lot of mind stuff. We can just get stuck in our mind and thinking and overanalyzing and sometimes just even letting it go completely and not even thinking about it. Usually you'll just feel into it and go, oh, it's this feeling, whatever this is. I don't even know what it's called yet, but I'm just going to go with that. And usually it kind of works itself out in the end rather than, all that analysing. It's just so exhausting.
Yeah.
Done with it.
Done. Thank you so much for spending all this time with us.
Yeah.
I feel so lucky.
Yay, that was so fun. Thanks, ladies.
Lick the screen. Lick it.
What do you taste like?
Oh, hilarious. All right, we're going to finish this recording. Are we?
Yeah, let's finish the record. We're finishing the recording
Ready?
now. Ready, set,
Set.
finish.